Your message is very good. It's very inspiring. Thank you for asking me. Something something happened in my life, and for about 2.5 years now, I've I've been seeking what I realized in a moment, if that makes sense. Like there was a moment, and I just kind of remembered some magnificent things. God, you know, and then for like over 2 years and still continuing to this moment, I'm trying to become trying to be open to the greatest potential for me and for the world. I'm pretty confused about what life is supposed to be. I guess it's a confusion alongside a sure, determination, in that I know that life is one thing, this love and this growth and this acceptance of others and this teaching and just becoming whole and better people. But in the being in the world and then trying to kind of figure out what I'm supposed to do, in a very realistic sense, like what I'm supposed to do as far as a career, or what kind of relationships with other people um, I want to be involved in. I mean, I guess you could call it like temptation or something. Some things in the world that kind of pull you away from your best. They make you start to desire things that are outside of you, or that you perceive as being outside of you, and as you kind of like reach for and try to grab onto these things, they're kind of a trick. They confuse you, and so more and more, I guess I'm just trying to go inside and to really feel who I am and what kind of person I am. And then immediately alongside that analysis of who I think I am, knowing and actually acting on the fact that I can change that by kind of surrendering to my what I said is my heart. Um, you said your heart tells you things that are irrational and have consequences. Now, I guess there's two interpretations of that. Um, Either it's not your heart and it's some other desires, and so I would say just keep seeking your heart. Maybe practicing some stillness. What people call meditation, but someone once told me that you can't meditate. You can't like sit down with the goal of meditating. Meditation is a result of concentration. But even then, it's not like active concentration, it's almost letting go. So maybe practice some stillness. Just sit 5 or 10 minutes a day. I know you have a baby, so it's probably hard to find time, but if you just sit in silence, in a posture where you can relax your body, um, at first you'll have thoughts, though constantly your mind will be trying to think, and I would suggest not trying not to think, because as soon as you try not to think, you're in the mind and you're going to be fighting thoughts with thoughts, and there's just no way out of that. But as the thoughts arise, just acknowledge them and then let them go. And then another one will arise, and treat each thought the same. No thought is better, no thought is worse. Um, Even thoughts that seem very strange or evil, just acknowledge them and let them go. I find that practicing this stillness just a little bit each day really helps me feel what I call my heart, what I really desire in the world and what I really want to be. If it is your heart that sounds irrational, then go for it. It only sounds irrational to your mind because your mind and your ego are trying to kind of carve out life in a pattern that they have made, in a system, in a series of expectations that your mind is like trying to facilitate and trying to kind of navigate through its own cunning. And you know it's of course the absolute love of your heart is going to seem irrational to that mind, which is trying to be very um, strategic. The love of the heart is not strategic, it's just overflowing. um, I don't know what you mean by the consequences, but if it's really your heart speaking, the consequences will only be good. They may be out of line with what you at the moment are expecting your life to be, but I mean, this is the essential kind of problem or rut that you're finding yourself in, is that life isn't really what you think it is, but you're not sure where it is. I mean, I just speak to you as like a fellow student in this process of kind of awakening and growing, because I don't know. I just know what I've been through, and I've had all of these feelings. If you watch some of my older videos, um, maybe I'll send you one, but there's this one in particular where I would get really, really sad, really, really deep and sad and just hopeless kind of. But I found that the oscillation of up and down and of good and bad, and that stillness that I was talking about, where you're kind of just observing, you can do that with all of those feelings. So more and more, I'm just becoming centered in the stillness, kind of observing my emotions, not being separate from them, but just realizing that the emotions are is kind of a wild ride, and that you do have a rock behind or underneath all of that tumultuous mental and emotional game playing. I remember when I first ever heard about you. This is so interesting. It's like such a clear memory for me. I was sitting in the cafeteria at Highland, and you came from somewhere, because I think you came in like 7th grade, or maybe toward the end of 6th grade, or 7th grade, or even 8th grade. I'm not sure, but I just remember sitting there and hearing your name, Cayenne Page, and I was like, "Whoa, that's a name. I had never heard a name like that." I don't know if we even talked very much in school. I can't even grab any other memory at the moment of me and you encountering each other. But that first time I ever heard about you, I would never forgot that. I'm not sure why. The reason I talk about this stuff um, is because I was going through this change and this opening up. And like I said, about 2 years ago or so, 2.5, like getting into be 3 years now, right after I left school and came home. And I mean, I guess if we want to use words to describe it, I woke up to God, and then I started reading, the Bible, mostly the New Testament and the Psalms and the Proverbs, and um, going to church once in a while, praying a little bit, and just kind of trying to figure out, like, what is this? What is the reality of God, and who is Jesus Christ? And I was just seeking in all that way. I was also